Welcome to 519 Connect, where the Windsor Police Service connects with members of our community. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Welcome to 519 Connect. I am your host, Constable Adjetey-Nelson, and today I am joined by another co-host, Constable Bianca Jackson. Say hello.
Hi, everybody.
And today our guest is Carrie Ann Peters. She's the Culture and Language Coordinator for Caldwell First Nations. Welcome, Carrie Ann.
Oh, miigwech.
Oh, thank you. So Carrie Ann is a member of the Caldwell First Nations and was born and raised in Windsor, Ontario. She was forced to grow up in the general public as her First Nation did not have a reserve. So this was a place to call home, a place where she could grow alongside her family and other members of her community, where she could learn about her teachings and ceremonies. And we have her here today on our show to educate us, communicate with us, and, show us what Caldwell First Nation is all about. So I thank you for being here today and sharing some of your knowledge and your culture and your history with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Culture and Language Coordinator. What's your role? What's it about?
It's pretty exciting, actually. I always say this, I don't like to call it a job, obviously, because this is a way of life for us, right? So in that, I get to, do ceremonies, have traditional people come in and do teachings, the drumming and the songs, right, and get to do all that fun stuff. We've been doing language classes, so we've been doing Ojibwe language for the last 4 years or so, and recently we just added Potawatomi, which is pretty exciting.
Ooh, okay. That's interesting. So where is Caldwell First Nation located, like just geographically?
So our office is in Leamington. Pretty much right in downtown Leamington.
Okay. I went on the website and trying to learn as much as possible. Reserve status and things like that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, reserve status, finally. That has been a very long fight. Pretty sure, as many know, that's been a fight that our ancestors have been doing for well over 220 years, right? So long time coming, and we're pretty excited. So our first piece of land, just about 200 acres. So the government finally put the little check mark on there, and that is now called Caldwell First Nation Reserve Land.
Okay.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Actually, I want to say congratulations to you. It's well deserved. And a question I have, I guess, and just want to get more insight, because there's I believe there has been a lack of knowledge on our part. We just don't know. We've never been educated. And I'd like to know, so now that you have your land back, what are some of the next steps from here for you?
I wish we had our land back.
Portion. My apologies.
Yeah, right?
Portion.
No, that's okay. But again, that's where that educational piece comes in, right? So a lot of people know that, Point Pelee, Pelee Island, and that area as Caldwell First Nation as our home, right? But Caldwell First Nation's traditional territory is way bigger than that, right? So even like all of Windsor, Essex, pretty much all of Southern Ontario, right? But, that would be our traditional territory. So yes, our home, which we are building, which is a lot of work also. So it was in August of 2010 that the Caldwell and the government, we did a settlement. So we've been doing a lot of consultation with band members. What would they like to see? What do they want to see on the reserve, right? So now it's just about doing a lot of paperwork, I guess. Yeah, I kind of feel sorry for council. They have they got a lot of work to do there, but yeah, definitely we have that vision and we have that goal, and we're all pretty excited about it happening.
We had a conversation before we came on air, and it was you mentioned that you care for your mom, which is a beautiful thing. But I want to know, when this announcement came out, for somebody of her age, what did that mean for her?
And I just want to say, unfortunately, that happened during COVID. So we weren't able to have like that big community celebration, right, with everyone there. So while we were still excited, it was still kind of a downer that we couldn't all celebrate that together, right? But yeah, my mom, she's so my mom was on council when that settlement was done. So yeah, she's just, it's good to see the progress still keep going, right? Still keep going.
That's beautiful. That's awesome because, of course, even though some of our ancestors they'll pass and the new ones come up, it's so important for them to continue knowing what was fought for, right? And to keep that fight alive, to keep going. That's awesome.
So it's amazing and it's long overdue. And, Bianca talks about passing that culture and, this knowledge and keeping people informed. I see you have programs there, and how are you enriching, your community, and especially talking about the pandemic coming out of there, we went virtual and other ways. What type of programs are out of your office that, you're putting out there in the community?
So I'll actually say COVID did have some positive points, right? So doing some of the programs virtually was good because, again, with Caldwell not having that home, that community, right? Our people are spread all over Turtle Island. So going virtual with some of our programs allowed those people to attend that wouldn't normally be able to attend, right? People who live in Alberta or BC or, they wouldn't be able to, pop in the band office for, an hour language class, right? So now that it's virtual, they can. So kind of a little blessing in disguise there on that part, right? So some programs we have kept virtual just because we know those people can attend them. We do a lot of things in person. Obviously, ceremonies cannot be done virtually, right? We have to do those in person. But yeah, and now as workers, I think we're trying to figure out how we can still keep all community, in on everything that we're doing. So, some programs, one time we'll run it in person, another time we'll run it virtually. Depending on what the program is, we can do hybrid, right? So we can do them both at the same time. So everybody can participate at once. Yeah. We as employees have a lot of work to do also on the back end, right?
How many people are employed to do this big task?
I want to say we're just over 25. We could be 30 employees by now. Okay. Considering way back when I started, there was like 3 of us.
Wow.
That's,
yeah, so,
that's a big uptake.
Right? So we've grown, which is even more exciting, right?
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
and we're just going to grow even more when we start building and everything, right? Because even more jobs will open up, right? So.
Okay. So with everything being virtual, is everyone working out of the Leamington office? But because you talk about, Alberta being everywhere, with courses and teachings and everything, was virtual a way that you could incorporate everyone from all over?
Virtually. So as employees, we all are back in the office. So we've been back in the office for, I guess it's been a year now. I don't even, time has just, I don't even know time anymore. But yeah, we've been back in office for like a year now. So so we just do things out of the building. A lot of stuff that I do is kind of in the evening and on weekends, right? Just because most people work during the day. So again, that gives them that ability to be able to participate.
And what kind of programs do you have that are engaging to your youth, to the young ones?
Everything I do. Right? Because it's all about passing that knowledge on, right? So everything that we do, I mean, even the language, when we started the language, we were talking about, how are we going to do this, right? So like if you're going to school, right, you kind of like start kindergarten and work your way up. And I'm like, okay, but I don't know the language, so technically I should be starting in kindergarten also, right? And that would be my learning process. So yeah, we have to rework a lot of the things that we do, just because we again, not having that community, we didn't grow up together, so we weren't just learning from each other, right? So yeah, I mean, teaching my mom the language, right? So right, just because she's older doesn't mean that she should start in that, right? She's starting in kindergarten also, right? So
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
so yeah, it's been fun. Again, with COVID, pre-COVID, we like did a whole 12 module course on that would like incorporate the teachings and the language. COVID came, so we weren't able to do that. And then we had the good idea, hey, let's put this online. But those modules were generated to be done in person.
Okay.
Right? So there was
Yeah.
all kinds of activities and interaction. And then once you go online, you can't do that because now it's just somebody sitting at their computer learning it by themselves. So that's also been a work in progress, but hopefully, fingers crossed, next month that will launch to community. So everybody from anywhere that's a Caldwell First Nation band member will be able to have the opportunity to learn that.
Yeah, that's great. Learning how to switch. You have a product that you're like, yes, and then getting that new one, and I'm like, okay, it's still great work. Now let's adapt, and that's the growth, right? And I think that's the part of teachings, right? You adapt, right? You still keep that foundation there in everything we do, but there's ways to do it, and we wish you the best with that. We went through some of that too with our training. It went virtually, and at first. Even the teacher and student, you find it hard to want to buy in because you want to be around people. When, as you said, when things opened up, it's just like a year went by because we were so excited and being in each other's presence. There's presence that is just like, oh, it feels so good, and you're like, so that's a good feeling. And now you're able to adapt it, like you said, everywhere because you've gone virtually. And speaking it's summertime. What are some events that are coming up for Caldwell First Nations that that you're either collaborating in, that's happened, that you're kind of doing?
So throughout the summer, we do like a lot of our regular events, right? So we always do an event on Solidarity Day. We always do an event for Orange Shirt Day. They're just events that happen every year. Yeah, I think we're still like, what are we going to do? Right?
So many
So
ideas.
we're still kind of stuck in that space, right? Because, I mean, it was just a couple months ago that all the restrictions were lifted and we could do things in person again. So, again, now we have to readapt, right? Let's go back to the old way.
Yeah. The new is old, kind of, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like, oh, we had to change this, but now we can go back to that way. It's like, how do I transition back?
Right.
What's the next main goal for the Caldwell community? What is the next goal for you?
I want to say our next big goal is being able to build on the reserve, right? That piece of land. Again, that's something that's been in the works for years, right? And now that we actually have that reserve status, we can actually truly start the work to start building on the land.
And I imagine, you're reaching out to, other reserves, what works, what hasn't worked. And, when starting that, what's the not most important, but where should we start first? Have you been doing that at any other First Nation organizations that you've been working with?
I would say probably not on my end. That would probably be more of a council thing. But
Okay.
but that for Caldwell, it is kind of cool because we are unique in that way, right? So we've seen the things that work on other reserves and things that don't. So we get to see that and we get to hopefully try new stuff and make it better.
Hi, my name is Ed Armstrong. I'm the Inspector of Professional Advancement with the Windsor Police Service. With this position, I oversee our training branch, community services, as well as recruitment. As you know, Windsor is one of the most diverse communities in Canada. With that being said, our goal is to ensure that our police service represents our community. If you know anyone from your community that believes in our core values and will be an asset to our organization and serve the community with honor and service, the Windsor Police Service is currently accepting applications for the position of cadet. We encourage you to have them apply. Although patrol and ensuring the safety of our community is our #1 priority, the Windsor Police Service offers different departments that may interest you. To name a few, our Major Crimes Branch, our Forensic Identification Unit, Emergency Services Unit, and our Marine Unit. Which one interests you? So you want to know how to become a cadet? Simply visit our website at windsorpolice.ca under the Career tab or visit oacpcertificate.ca. I'm sitting at my desk waiting to see your application.
Do you work in collaboration with other reserves, or is it something that you just kind of see what they do and you try to either mimic or do the same, or is it something that you guys as a community you come together and help each other out in these situations when you're building from basically from scratch, you're starting from new? Is it something that you know that you have the support of other reserves?
Definitely, again, like I said, that would be on more of a council level.
Okay.
But yeah, I do know that, obviously being, I guess, in contact with those other chief and councils, there are probably ideas bouncing all over the place.
That's good. That's good that everyone's in a room and the ideas are bouncing. And, like us, it's when it gets to us, it's good to hear. All right. Even if it's not the details, but it's like collaboration is happening. And, it starts from, all over. And, we talk about your bio, Windsor to Leamington, like you grew up in Windsor. What was that like, being First Nations, and you talk about, not having a home, and how did you, don't have to get too in depth, but how did you feel like, it can be as a minority. I understand sometimes in situations you wish you could turn to your left and right and you'd have that support, but it's difficult. But talk a little bit about that.
Oh, fun. No. I mean, growing up in the city, obviously I didn't know any other way than growing up in the city, right? So it's surrounded. And I will just say one thing, the city has definitely changed since I've left.
Okay.
Definitely changed since I've left. Whew. But yeah, just, I think, and the one thing that I wish is that I don't, it's hard, right? Because as, even just going to grade school, right? You got beat up for being Indian, right? I got made fun of all the time. I used to have really long hair. And one day I just came home and I was crying and I told my mom, can't do it anymore. Cut it all off. So, yeah. And then, now it's like, man, I wish I wouldn't have cut my hair off. But you know what I mean? It's choices, right? Do I want to get beat up every day, or, do I want to try and fit in, right? So there's a struggle. That was a struggle. That, not fun. And I really didn't know. I mean, I've always been, you always get the reminder, right? Be proud of who you are. Always been proud. Always been proud to be Potawatomi. Definitely my mom and my grandparents, instilled that in me, so that was good. And I passed that one on to my daughter. But yeah, I mean, probably no different than a lot of other people, right? I'm sure, I know other people got beat up in school too, so.
Yeah, it's those stories you remember back to them. But you said something there. You know, your grandparents and your mother instilling that, be proud of who you are. And I remember that. My mother's Jamaican, my father's from Ghana, and now that I have kids, I wanna, pass the stories, the history, even the language. Even though you talk about language, I don't speak the languages, and my mother, she speaks Patois, right? Yeah, both Jamaican, and my kids asked me about it, and I said that, and I was like, oh, I wish I knew more. So you start, like you said, diving back, and like you said, you go back to that. For me, it's like you said, that I can't learn at that level. I have to go back to like I'm a kid. My son's asking, and he's like, "What does this mean? What does that mean?" And I'm going back, and even my mother, right? She knows she speaks Patois, but where does it come from? Right, just the mixes of the Indigenous of Jamaica, the Africans that came there, and mixing with the French and all that, and it's your history, and I'm still learning, and I think it's good. I would say history's cool again. In school we didn't talk about much, but now I think they've realized that in schools and in life we got to start pulling from our diversity, but also, like you said, who was here first. And it's good. Me and Bianca were talking. They have programs in the school where they're now starting to educate the youth, and I think that will help with. Hopefully, that helps with that. The bullying, because it still happens, right? Oh, yeah. But information is power. How do you feel about that? That now they're introducing that in schools.
I think it's great. I love going around and talking to the schools. It floors me. Some of the questions that the younger ones ask, it's like, what? No adult would ever ask that question, right? So it's crazy, some of the things that they ask, but it's great. It's great, and that's where it needs to start, right? It needs to start with those younger ones, right? So they can be that change.
That's right. It's so important for the kids to know where their history is, where they come from, and why we all look so different, why we behave so different, and that's so important. So if there was something like Jamie just talked about the kids learning at a young age, but is there something that you could say that, hey, you know what, if anything, I really wish that they would teach. They
give it to us.
They would teach this specific thing in school, because again, you can go into a school and you can hear the teacher teaching something, and then it's just like, that's not right. What do you want them to know?
I actually had a teacher reach out to me when the Indigenous studies were first introduced a couple years ago. Well, actually pre-COVID, because she's like, I should not be the one teaching this to these kids, right? It should not come from me. So I was going into the school once a month for that class, right? So I would check out their curriculum to see what they learned that month, and then they actually got it from like an First Nations point of view, right? Yes. And got to ask those questions, got that clarification, got that truth, right?
Yep.
So yeah.
And
but that's what I said. It needs to start with those young ones. Not to diss on you guys, but adults.
There's some things we just grow up with, and it's hard for us to get it back.
And it really is. And as I said earlier, we don't know, because I was never taught anything in school about Indigenous or anything. I was never taught, so I don't know. And I know it's never too late for us to learn, and that's a main reason why we want you here at this table, so we can hear it from you. We can turn on the TV and see anything, but how do we know? We need to hear it from you.
That's just it. Even TV, right? Is it really true?
Right.
Is that the truth?
Right.
Right. I mean, as First Nations people, we've been telling our stories for a really long time, and nobody's believed us, right? Until last year, right? When that happened in BC with those 215 children, it was like, oh, yeah. So it was like, really? Because we've been telling you this for a long time.
Long time.
Yes.
Right. And that's the thing, right? It's frustrating. I can't imagine, how frustrating it must feel inside to know we have been telling people about this for the longest time, and nobody was listening to us until you have proof. And I know for me, listening to the news and hearing that, I can't imagine. I mean, as a mom, I can't imagine what it would be like to send your child off to school and not know that if you're ever going to see them again. And I just, or even they didn't even send them off.
No.
They were taken away. That's.
I think, like I said a year ago when I did an interview with CBC, I said, please don't let this just be the story of the week.
Yes.
And then it's, it's still happening to this day. They're still searching. We're still searching. But it's not in the news anymore.
Yeah, you have to find it yourself. And that's talking about Bianca before, that devastation of those stories in BC. I went out and looking for that information myself, and it's like right now, if you don't go out there and actively ask those questions, you can't find it. So I think we still have to have that little inquiry where we want to know. And where do we go as a community to get that information? Like, you can go online or whatever, but help our community. Who do we talk to? How do we ask those questions? The idea of support is, I think we need to know first. And where do we go for that truth? That truth that we need to hear? What do we do?
Call me up. I'll tell you. Oh, just kidding. But right, it's as easy as reaching out to your local First Nation, right? That's what we're there for, right? You have questions, we'll give you some answers. You might not like them sometimes.
Yeah, that's
The truth is hard to hear sometimes,
It is.
It really is. So I can understand that. I can totally understand that. But yeah, I mean, anytime you have any events, summer events or anything like that that's going on, how do you relay that to the rest of the community so we can try to be involved and have a better understanding?
So we have a website. A lot of our posters and things go up on our website, like our flyers that say when events are and what they are. Not everything is open to the public, right? As we hopefully become more, I don't want to say dependent upon ourselves, but right, a lot of the funding that we get is government funding, right? So there's like guidelines and restrictions that we have to follow. So whereas, some of our programs, we're only allowed to offer them to community members, right? So First Nations, band members. And then there are certain things that we can do that we can open up and invite the public. Right? So there's a fine line there sometimes.
Absolutely.
Which is, again, about that education piece, right? How do people learn if they cannot be included? And as Indigenous people,
Exactly.
that's something that we've always done. And that's what I struggle with in my job is if they don't know, then how are they going to know?
okay.
And that's the thing.
Yeah, so got to get to the website. Like you said, some stuff is open to the public, and I attended my first powwow, and rich in culture and what I learned, and just being included. Like you said, that inclusiveness really opens you up, and you're able to ask questions. And sometimes I wasn't even asking questions; I was just listening, and I think that's important. It's just listening sometimes, and you're just watching those senses that we all grow up with. And like a child, I felt, again, when you learn something new, it feels good. And I encourage everyone to go to the website, and I was on there, and I was I'm reading. I'm like the sacred laws and stuff like that. And when you see it more places, you start asking more questions. And so yeah, I encourage everyone who's listening now. What's the website again?
CaldwellFirstNation.ca.
There it is. That's simple. We're here to learn. Go there to learn, and reach out and be a part. I know as Windsor Police that's our goal is to get connected and learn more. Being here at our training branch, it's not always about the physical. It's about that mental and being inclusive. So because we all have some biases, and the more we ask questions, the more we
in tune with it.
yeah, you can handle situations in anything in life, not just in policing, just in your general life. And to know that Canada is not everything they just taught us in schools as adults. There's more out there. So someone was here first, right? And I'm so happy that you came here today and talked to us. And I know you were nervous at first, but it was amazing. Your passion came out, and we appreciate it. So thank you for coming, Bianca. Yeah, you're amazing. I'm keeping you now.
Jamie, I have one more question, if I may.
Oh, I love the questions.
One more question for Carrie, if possible. I noticed that that you put a title down for this talk, and it says it's never too late. And I wanted to know from you, what does that mean?
Yeah, I was like, what? A title? Come on.
I know.
Okay. But that's just it, right? It's never too late. Like I said, I grew up in Windsor, so I didn't have those teachings. I didn't have the opportunity. I like to say I was denied, right? I was denied that opportunity. And, over the last 12 or so years, I've been going to ceremony. I've been learning the language. I've been learning the teachings, right? It's never too late. Like I said, I'm teaching my mom the language now, right? So never too late.
That's right. I love it. And that's what I wanted to hear from you. It's never, ever too late. And it's never too late for us to learn either. No matter how old we are, we can still learn and get educated about each other. That's so important right now. Hand it back over to you.
Thank you. That was great, Carrie Ann, Bianca. 519 Connect. You can find us on all platforms. Thank you for having us today, and thank you for tuning in to 519 Connect.